We also have to install the GameLift Client SDK, which is open source. You can find this by going to this link here, which I will also provide in the description. Then download the zip file for the repository. And we're going to, of course, extract it like always. So where's the GameLift UE4? I'm going to extract this. Once extracted, go into the extracted folder and this GameLift Client SDK folder, right click it, copy it, and we are going to paste it into our project's plugins folder. So literally just go to the project, go to the plugins folder and paste it. Just as simple as that. We're gonna have to do something similar like before. We're going to have to go to our U project file, edit that. And now we have to add a new plugin. So pair of squiggly brackets, and the name is going to be now GameLift Client SDK, and enabled will be set to true. Save that, go to Visual Studio, and we have to go to our GameLift tutorial.build.cs class and add the GameLift Client SDK to our modules. So save that, close Visual Studio, close Unreal Engine, go to our project directory and reopen GameLift tutorial.u project, and it should once again ask you to rebuild the project to now include the new plugins. So let that go. Just like the GameLift Server SDK, we can check the status of our plugin by going to Edit, then Plugins, and we can now see we have successfully installed the GameLift Client SDK plugin, and it is in this tab named Install. So that's just to make sure that we installed the plugin. Now that we have the GameLift Client SDK, go to File and click on Refresh Visual Studio Project. Once that's done, go to File and now click on Open Visual Studio, or if you're like me, I already had it open. So click on it, and now you'll notice this plugins folder has appeared, and we need that because now we actually have to edit the source code of one of these plugins, specifically the Client SDK. So go to Plugins, GameLift Client SDK, then Source, GameLift Client SDK, and then go to GameLift Client SDK.build.cs. Now at the very beginning here, just add b enable exceptions equal true and save that. Also, you're going to have to add this exact same line to the GameLift tutorial or name of your project.build.cs file in source name of your project. So just add b enable exceptions equal true and save. Okay, so now we're going to go to the Aws Development Console, and if you don't have an account with AWS, you should make one right now. And once you do make one, sign in and go to the top bar where your name is, click on my security credentials, and then I'll take you to this page. But then on the left side, go to policies, and the first thing we're going to do is create a new policy. And once you're on this page, click on JSON, and we are going to edit the statement here. So we're going to replace that square bracket with some squiggly brackets, and the first thing we're going to add is the effect parameter, and we're going to set that to allow. Then we're going to have an action parameter, and we're going to set this to an array of GameLift functions that the player can call from the GameLift Server SDK. So we're going to start with create game session, and then we're going to do search game sessions, and then we're going to do create player session. I believe I'm missing one. Yeah. Also, GameLift describe game sessions. And then we're going to add the last parameter, which is just resource, and we're just going to set that to also star. Review this policy, name it something. I'm just going to call it tutorial policy. And you can see here that the limited permissions are just read and write. So create this policy and just make sure it's there. Literally just look it up, tutorial policy, it's there. Now go to users, add a new user. Username can be anything. I'm just going to call mine tutorial user. Click on programmatic access because that's what we're going to need to connect to the server, this access key and the secret access key. Click on next permissions. Attach existing policies. Yep, click on that. Look up your policy. Tutorial policy was the name of mine. Click it and then click on next tags. You don't need to do anything. Go to next review. Just make sure everything is right. Make sure the policy is on there. Click on create user and you will have a new user. Now this information right here, you should store it somewhere and just copy and paste it to some document because you're going to need it later. Proceed to go back to the Unreal Engine editor, and now we're going to create a new level. To do that, go to File, click on New Level. I'm going to select Default and save this level by going to File again, save current as, and I'm going to call this level underscore entry. Notice where I'm saving this. I'm saving this in the content folder, third person CPP folder, maps folder. So just click save. You're already in the level, so go to the blueprints button here in the toolbar, click on it, and then select open level blueprint. So now start with this begin play node, drag and place a new node, look up create GameLift object. You can already see we're going to need the access key and secret key, so let's get that. I had that stuff copy and pasted from earlier. So let's copy and paste that. Region US East 1, that's what I'm going to use for now. There's a list online of all the regions, all the region codes that AWS has. Just choose the one that's closest to you. All right, and then we're going to drag a new node from here for create player session. Set the target of this to the return value of GameLift object. And for this, so we don't have the game session ID yet. We're going to work on that later. Unique player ID, I'm going to do something that's very bad practice, but this is just a very simple tutorial. Right click anywhere in the free space and look up random integer. That's what I'm going to choose. Set the max to 1000 and set the return value to the unique player ID. Again, not great practice, but it's just a duct tape solution right now. Drag a new node from here and then look up on create player session success. Set the target to the return value of this. Drag a new node from here. Look up on create player session failed. Again, set the target of this to the return value of create player session. And then lastly, drag another node. Look up activate. Make sure it's on their GameLift create player session. Select that. Set the target of activate to the return value of create player session. And then for on create player session success, drag out from this event delegate, place a new node, look up add custom event, select that. Name this to on create player session success event. And drag a node from here, look up open level. This is actually what's going to do the connecting to the server. And now drag from this IP address parameter and look up append, because to get the level name parameter for open level, we're going to append the IP address and the port separated by a colon, and then set the return value of this append to the level name. And if it fails, I guess what you should do is drag this out, this event delegate, look up add custom event. Name this to on, I lost it. Oh, no, I did. On create player session failed underscore event. So for this, all we're going to do is we're just going to call a print string method. And the parameter for this will be the error message. And that's pretty much all you need for now. We'll come back to this later, but just save, compile, close this, click file, save all. Just gotta do that. Now return to Visual Studio and right click, or first make sure the development editor setting is selected. Right click the project under the games folder and click build. Once the development program is finished building, change this option to development server now. Again, right click the project, select build. This will now build the server files that will be added to the package project that will be deployed to GameLift. While the server files are building, go back to the Unreal Engine editor and create a new folder here called maps. Click this sources panel button here on the left and go to third person CPP, go to maps, select all these files, drag them to the maps folder, click on move here, because we're going to be moving them here. Go to the maps folder, and I'm going to want to rename this file to name it level_main and then save all. Once that's complete, go to edit and go to project settings. This should open up this window. Click on maps and modes, and for these default maps, if you don't see all 4 of these, you may have to click this arrow button to show all the maps. For the editor startup map and game default maps, select entry, level entry for both of these. And then for transition map and server default map, select level_main and level_main. Close that and save all. Now specify the maps you want to include in the package build by going to File, Package Project, then Packaging Settings. And it'll take you to this screen. Now, it may not look like this at first. It may look like this, where the packaging section is like minimized. So just click this arrow to show advanced. And you're going to see this section titled List of Maps to Include in a Package Build. So just click the plus button twice. And then you're just going to select the 2 maps. First, the level entry map, and then the the level main map. So then just close that and save. Since these servers take a long time to build, I just want to remind you guys that you will need the Aws Command-Line Interface. There are so many ways to install it. You can use the Windows installer, or you can pip install it. Just please install this because you will need this later. Once the development server projects have finished compiling, go to the folder containing your project, go to binaries, go to Win64, and you will notice these new server files are made. This is just to make sure that everything went right. Go back to the Unreal Engine editor. Make sure everything's saved once again. And then now go to File, Package Project, and you have 2 options. If you are on a Linux machine, you can build a Linux package. But if you're like me on Windows, then you're gonna have to choose Windows, and I'm 64-bit, so that's the option I'm gonna choose. Just say select folder, it's fine. And now you just gotta wait for this to happen. If you want, you can even view the output log. This should take some time. After the packaging has finished, go to the location of your project and go to the binaries folder, Win64, and copy these server files here. And we're going to go back to our project folder, go to this new folder that was created by the packaging called Windows No Editor. And then go to that folder, then go to Engine, go to Binaries. Oh, sorry. Wait. My mistake. Go to the name of your project again. So name of your project, Windows No Editor, name of your project. Then go to Binaries, then go to Win64, and copy and paste all of these files. Okay, so once you've finished packaging your project, go to this link, which I'll have in the description below. This is going to be for downloading the Visual C++ Redistributable files for Visual Studio 2015. So just download it, select x64 if you're 64-bit computer. Once that's installed, go to your project's Windows No Editor folder, as well as where you have downloaded the redistributable file, and just copy and paste that into the Windows No Editor folder. And then in this location, create a new file. I'm just going to do this in Notepad++. Do this in Notepad. I'm going to copy and paste these lines, but I'll let you guys pause the video right now so that you can copy this down. But basically, these two lines, all they do is they just run the redistributable files, as well as the Unreal Engine prereq setup files for the server. So I'm just going to go ahead and save these, and I'm going to call it install, and I'm going to make it type batch. I'm going to save it. So one more step you have to do before deploying the build to GameLift is you have to go to the plugins folder of your project, copy the GameLift Server SDK folder, and go to your Windows No Editor folder, and then go to GameLift Tutorial, go to plugins, and then copy and paste the folder here. Now head on over to the Amazon GameLift Management Console. On the top left, make sure your location corresponds to the code you used. For example, I used US East 1, so therefore North Virginia is the right location for me. Then click on Take Me to the Dashboard, and click on Dashboard here, click on Builds, and depending on your operating system, copy one of these commands. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to copy this one. Go to Command Prompt, paste it here, and replace some of the variables. So for build name, you can literally name it anything. I'm just going to name it GameLift Tutorial. And for build version, you can literally use any number. I'm just going to do 1.0. For build root, this has to be the file path of your Windows No Editor folder. So go to your project, go to Windows No Editor, and copy this path. And what I like to do is I like to encase the path in double quotes because my path has spaces in it. Press enter and let it run. Once your build has finished uploading, you'll notice that your build will now appear in the management console. If you don't see it, just click the refresh button here or just refresh the page. Then select it, click on create fleet from build. For the name, just use any name. I'm going to call mine test fleet, doesn't matter. For instance type, I'm just going to choose the free tier. Although it is the worst performance wise, it is the cheapest. If you want to look at the pricing history for different tiers, just click on pricing history. You can compare the on-demand to spot price, as well as between the different operating systems, so Linux or Windows. And if you want to choose on-demand or spot, go to fleet type here, and then select one of the choices. Then go down. For launch path, you're going to want to go back to your project folder, specifically the Windows No Editor folder, then go to your project folder again, binaries, Win64, and copy and paste the path up until Windows No Editor, but not including it. Then type / name of your project, server.exe, click the green check mark. For port settings, add some port settings, port range, put in 7777, protocol, UDP, IP address range 0.0.0.0/0, click the green check mark. And this is just basically saying anyone is allowed to connect to your game. And now click initialize fleet. Now, this is going to take some time. Right now, the status is new. To move on to the next step, the status is going to have to be active. To check on the status of this fleet, just click the refresh button here or just refresh the page. Once your fleet has finished scaling, take this fleet ID right here, copy it, and then go to your command prompt and then run the AWS GameLift create game session function. It'll take in a maximum player session count variable. Just put in a random number greater than 1. You'll find out with this tutorial, this number really doesn't matter And for the fleet ID parameter, pass in that pasted fleet ID variable you just made. This should happen really quickly. Just a note that when you configure your AWS CLI, make sure the location matches the region that you made this build/fleet in. Also, when you configure your AWS CLI, you should have a user with admin privileges. If you want more information on that, I would suggest Googling that. But now the most important thing here was this game session ID. So it'll actually show up now in the management console. So click on it and copy that value. Go back to Unreal Engine and go back to our entry level and open the blueprint, the level blueprint for level entry. And once this opens up, that blank game session ID, this is where you're going to paste the value, save it, compile, close, save all, and then you're going to do what you did before. Go to package project, Windows 64-bit, select folder, and then let it run. Now that this is finished building, go back to your project folder and specifically go to the Windows No Editor folder and run this GameLift tutorial.exe application on the top level here. And what it should do is it should pretty much just open up the game. So as you can see, so this person, I don't know what this is, maybe it was just the default loaded pawn, but just to test that this is working, I'm going to open the project again, and as you can see, we now have 2 people in the same game, 2 different clients, 1 server. So let me go here now. I'm going to move this guy, so we go back to him. So we see like he moved locations. So yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. This was a tutorial on how to host a dedicated server, a Unreal Engine dedicated server on Amazon GameLift. If you guys enjoyed this simple tutorial, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, GitHub. Links will all be in the description below. Our Discord chats are also going to be in the description below. And yeah, I mean, just have a nice day. I hope you guys can make some great games. You know, this is really hard. There's obviously more advanced features to go over, but for the most part, yeah, this is pretty much it.